Hello everybody. This is Elissa from Mank Arts and Crafts, and today I am here to kind of go over the basics on how to get started using Markup R-XP. I always forget the name of the app. Markup R-XP, which is the Apple version of Pattern Keeper. So I'm just going to refer to it as Markup, but I think technically it's like Markup R-XP. Not going to bother myself with it, but that's this one right here that you see. So I'm going to kind of show you the basics of how to use markup, at least as far as what I've discovered as far as the basics to get you started when you're working on a cross stitch conversion. So I went to one of the cross stitchers that has some amazing patterns to show you, because I want to be able to show you guys what it looks like, and I'm not going to do that with a paid pattern, but this is Noctiflora Designs. And noctifloradesigns.com is the website for this, and she has some free patterns that are absolutely adorable. This is one that I already had, and I knew I had some free patterns for her. I just wanted to go on and like verify which ones were the free ones. But I have this one downloaded. Amanita Fantasia. I'm probably the name of that type of mushroom. So anyways, this is a nice small one. As you can see, it's slated to be 26 by 41 stitches. So I'm going to go over to my markup and show you how this would all look doing it on markup to be able to get this pattern right here into the markup. So I always, you go through the process, add it to your cart, and then once you check out, but it costs nothing, so it's free, but you register your email and everything with her website. So I already have it downloaded, so we're going to come over, I have it downloaded to my iPad, to my cloud. So I just clicked on markup, and you can see these are the kits that I already have uploaded. The ones that are in green are the ones that are completely done. Markup does come with this one, this rainbow colored dragon, for free, as you know, if you want to get started. But these are, you can see I already have, like a Noctiflora there, Noctiflora there. I already have a couple Noctifloras downloaded, but these are the patterns that I already have downloaded into markup, or like uploaded to markup, however you want to think of it. Here was my Night of the Frost Dragon Sal, as I went through and did that one, so you can see like the progression for it. And the this one right here is my current in progress cross stitch conversion, I want to say, or did I upload that one twice? I think I just have it in there once. But anyways, that's basically the overview. You can change the status on these, so you can see how it says wish list 0, kitted 0, doing 0, done 24, and I have 37 in here. So I have 37 patterns uploaded. I've finished 24. So if you want to change the status, so technically this one down here is actually a sorry, fuzz on my screen. This one right here is actually my current whip, my Witchy Stitcher Nostalgic Tarot. I don't know why it's only showing as that. So I'm going to tap on the bottom. So if you tap on that little bottom part right here where it gives your stats, it says the name of it in the project category. If you tap on the category, you can see you can change it here. So I'm going to put this in the doing category because that's my current whip, and we're going to save that. So now if I looked at the doing, I just have one in here, which makes it easier. If I have something prepped, I can always classify it as kitted up, completed ones. These are all the completed cross stitch conversions. Granted, these ones, this 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry. So these completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are all one pattern. Same thing as you look at it right here, 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 and here. Those 5 are all one project. It was just, you have them broken up, so it wasn't, multiple hundreds of pages. So it looks like I've done a whole lot more than I actually have on here. So we're going to come back over here we're going to go back to the all category because that's what you guys will see. So to get started, you need to get your pattern into the app. That's your first step, pattern into the app. And unfortunately, none of the these platforms, I don't think Pattern Keeper does it, Markup doesn't do it, But if you wanted to, it doesn't have like that seamless transition from device. So if you were using your iPad and then you want to go and use like your phone or something to that effect, you can't just, you know, open Markup on your phone and everything will be there like you can with Gems Flow. So instead, if you wanted to, if you're like, hey, I know I'm going to be moving to my phone and using my phone, you have to actually export the your progress on the project and then import it into the other one. I don't do that. I just use my iPad because I like having the larger screen, and I usually have my phone playing a movie or a show while I'm working on my iPad on the cross stitch conversion. So that's kind of that process. So when you look at it here, that's the overall. You can configure the app in different ways with some of the main settings. So you've got some that you can do. You can do project, sort, order, application settings like this. It's set for date. It's set for date added, but you can change it. I actually am going to change this to name. So you can do it as, you organize it in alphabetical order, basically, which to me makes more sense, and I prefer that order. That's one of the basic things. You've got where if you can choose chart import quality, whether it's a standard or extra, those different things. So what's great is it has all of the information. When you click on those little helpful exclamation points, it gives you plenty of information. So you could literally take a photo of a chart and then import it. So that's something you can do. You just want it to be completely flat across the whole page to make it easy to read. No curls, no crumples, no creases. And you want to start with your chart being straight and level. So this is if you're photographing your chart and you want to make sure it's not blurred or unclear. And you want to make sure that you have the whole chart because it needs all four sides to be able to detect the grid. So that's the process it goes through. So that's like helpful hints are typically there to be uploaded. I typically don't mess with these things within here. They do have a free sample chart, useful links. So that's a lot of information that you can have over there. So I'm going to close that. Mochi, stop licking the girls are obsessed. I got Starbucks on the way home today because it's pumpkin spice latte season. So I got a pumpkin spice chai, and now both Sushi and Mochi are like, we want to lick your pumpkin chai. And like, they normally don't touch my coffee, my tea, my Starbucks, but today they're like, we want to know, don't put your head on the tripod. All right. So we're going to import. So that's what the app configuration is there. I typically haven't played with that at all. I do like any move changes I want within the actual pattern. So we're going to come over here to this. We'll change the view so you can see. We're going to come over here to this plus mark. Mochi, do not. We're going to come to this plus mark you see right here, this pink mark. That is for adding a new project. You're going to click on that, and you can see how you can restore a backup from a zip file. So if you had backed everything up and you had like exported it, you could then import and like restore everything from that file if you wanted. You can also use this right here to take a photo of your pattern. So I have a cross stitch, an actual cross stitch I'm doing, not a conversion. You can see I only really have like the white border from there to there and down a little bit done. But if I wanted to, I'm working on this right here in case you're wondering, I'm doing this bookmark. I'm not going to show the pattern. I'll show a tease of the pattern. Because this one I just did as like a paper pattern, but you can see here, if I really wanted to, I could have uploaded that pattern into here. I just didn't bother. I was like, whatever, we're not doing that. So that's what you would see for camera. You could also, if you had taken a photo with your device or saved a photo to your device that you took on your phone, and then you airdropped it over to your iPad, then that would be under saved photos. And then you've got the last one, which is PDF and image files. This is how I tend to upload things, because most of the time when you're getting a pattern, and especially for those of us that are going to be doing the Flossy Fox Shop stitch along that just started this month, for those of us doing that as a cross stitch conversion, you're getting the pattern as a PDF. So you're going to upload it from a PDF. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to load. I already have this set to be my cross stitch conversion folder in my drive, and you can see I have hundreds of cross stitch conversions. Or cross stitch patterns, because I just can't control myself. So we're going to come down here to the Nocti Flora Designs, and we want you can see here, you've got the Amanita Fantasia free pattern for Pattern Keeper, or the other one that's called free pattern. So the one, usually a lot of artists, if they say pattern for Pattern Keeper, it's typically going to be in black and white. I personally prefer having my symbols in color on here versus a black and white like that. So I personally, when I'm uploading a pattern, I'm going to upload the color version as opposed to black and white. Really, it's all what you prefer to do. Sometimes it's actually better to do the black and white pattern because it's easier for the system to read it. I've had very few times where I've had issues with not being able to read some of the symbols with the colored version. So you click on the pattern that you want. Now this part is where you're going to select the pages that you want as the chart. And most charts are going to have a color version. So what you select is going to be in green. And it automatically says, hey, we recognize that these 2 pages, Moji, leave my chai alone. It automatically recognizes that these 2 pages here, hey girl, stop, are the actual chart. But it's the same exact chart. You have one in color and one in black and white. So I'm going to deselect this one. So now you can see the only one in green is the one that I want. And the nice thing is I find Markup easy to use because it tells you what to do right down here. So you tap to select the chart pages so that they're green, deselect other pages like the keys and the info so they're pink. And it may have, Markup R-XP may have already selected the correct pages. And in my case, it selected both of them. I just want that one. So now and this is where if you really want, you could actually basically invert it. So if you're like, okay, it selected everything but what I wanted, you just do that and it's going to change. So now everything else is selected. But I want this one just how it came. And if you get stuck, there's always that helpful little help button right there. So now I'm going to click next because I've selected what I want for the chart. And this is going to be where you select your key pages. So these are the pages that have the actual chart, the key or the legend for your canvas that you're working on. And you can see it automatically selected the one that has the key. So the system is pretty good about it. You can also see on this particular chart, it also has the key on the bottom of each page. On the chart portion, but we're selecting that one. And then the third step is that cover photo that you see when you look at it, so you can know what pattern you're doing. So it would be pictures for the finished chart or other pages that you want to be able to quickly access while marking up your canvas. I usually just do the cover photo because that's what it's going to default. So now we're going to collect, and you can see that's the only one in purple. If you selected that, it would be in purple too, but we just want that one. So now I'm going to click next, and it's going to say, okay, hey, this is what it looks like. And sometimes, like you can see here, this one is not necessarily reading. We'll take a look at it, but it's not necessarily reading the pattern very well. And I'll show you the difference between doing it like this and then doing that black and white, like the optimized for Pattern Keeper. So I usually tend to have to do a little bit more work when I do this just because of how it comes out. So you can see here, if you, it's on the thumbnail mode to show the relative page position. It's not necessarily, yeah, so typically you can select over here, but it's not giving me the option of doing that. I don't know why. So we're gonna do, yeah, so this is what I want. So this little button right here. So where it says show colors, it's showing what it would look like with all of these checked. So we're gonna turn that off. And now you can say, okay, this color is in that place. This color is in that pattern here, 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 here. So you can kind of see where each DMC color is going to be. Normally it lets you actually click on more, but this one isn't today. So what I'm going to do, and it's easiest to do it in this particular spot. So you can see how, I'll show you how it's easiest to do it here. So if you see how it doesn't have a DMC number assigned to these colors, we have our 7 colors with the symbols being recognized, and the symbols look nice and clear, but there's no DMC color attached to it. And you can see here at the bottom, if you want to define what colors they are, you double click on this and you can type in what DMC color it is, which you actually have to do right here. So I will write that down real quickly so we only have to do it once, and then we don't have to kind of go back and forth. So I'm going to go back over to the actual pattern. So if it doesn't upload properly, and this is the thing that can be challenging about the color patterns. So I'm going to come to my files, And we're gonna go to, we're gonna go to iCloud Drive, wrong one, diamond painting, cross stitch conversions. We want Nocti Flora, and we want this one right here. So this is what we just selected. So I'm gonna come right here and I'm gonna say, okay, which ones are what? I'm gonna write these down on a piece of paper, and I'm gonna say we have our flower is going to be 383, and then we have this weird like mushroom cap, which is going to be our 550. This like falling star is 384. Then we have the IUD, which is, that seems like a, all right, that's gonna throw me off because those are not, I don't believe, the same exact color. Yeah, see, that one was, it was missing. It cut off right here, and this is the thing that can be challenging. You can see here, it cut off the last number, and I'm like, that's not right. But when I come down here, here we go. So 3845, it's not 384. I was like, that just didn't seem right. So our flower is 3837, 550 is fine. 3846. And then we have, let's see, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have our cup of coffee, our mug, which is 3844, and this little water drop, which is 995, and then the moon is going to be the blanc, or 5200 is usually what I end up using when it says blanc. So now I have the symbols here written down. I don't worry about the back stitching because realistically, I'm not going to be really doing the back stitching on, I may like hand draw it on, but that's one of the challenges is when they have the back stitching. So now I'm going to come back over to Markup and I'm going to type in what it is. So the flower is going to be 3837, and I usually have, and you can see now it changed it to there. So we're going to save that. So now we're going to come over here to the water drop, and this is 995. And then we're going to come right here to our cup of coffee, 3844. And if you had, like, that's set for if you wanted to do multiple colors, if you say add another color, because sometimes, like an actual cross stitch, you could have two, like a strand from each color put together, but I don't want that. So I just want this one right here, which is the 3844. We're going to save that. We're going to come to this one here, which is the IUD, which is 3845. And then we're going to come to our little mushroom cap, which is 550. So this is the process that if you don't have the right, let me see if, there you go. So if you don't use the right pattern, sometimes you have to do a little bit more work. And then this one is 3846. I'll show you, and we'll see what it would look like doing this, ideally the same thing on a pattern that would be good. So now you've got your DMCs uploaded. This is the easiest way to do it. And you can see how at the top of it, it says the DMC color right at the top. So that's an important key to remember. If you do it in here, it's easier than doing it the other way. You can do it a different way, but this is the more efficient, quicker way of doing it. Now you're going to click done. It's going to do that, and when you open it for the first time, it's going to set it up. So now you can see here, we have our pattern, and look how clear that pattern resolution is. It's easy to see, easy to read, which I like. And I usually will have mine, I like, I've got these old eyeballs going on. So I usually zoom mine in a fair amount like this, because that makes it easier to mark up what you're doing. So, and as you look, this is basically your working spot. You've got your markup button, your symbol, like if you wanted to know what symbol you were on, and then you've got the pan and zoom. So if you want to move your around, you have to have the pan and zoom selected. Also on the same screen, you can look and you can see which symbols. You can see right here, this one that you check that says unmarked. If you want to see what you have left to do on here, it's going to show only those unmarked symbols. And sometimes the system will think that there's like a symbol way over here. So you're like, why is it not showing me that I'm done with this canvas or this conversion? I've done everything, it's done, but it'll be because somehow there was a random symbol, a random box that was selected off in the distance. But realistically, for the basics of it, you can see here is the unmarked, Also, you can see if we click on here, it shows the key. That one, it couldn't read the key correctly because it kept saying 384 on those, and because the key wasn't the most accurate on here, unfortunately. And then you have any pictures it decided that I wanted, and I'm like, I don't know why I picked that picture. And then you also have like your information on the bottom. This will show how many, like I really only, you've got the marked stitches, total stitches. And once you start working on it, it can actually kind of time you a little bit on it, I believe, for how many stitches you actually completed on there. And that's kind of like the project summary. Markup is the view that you really want because that's where you can actually mark it up. So now I have a personal preference that it's really very person to person. But so when you go to mark something up, say we're going to do our little 3837, the flower, you're going to click this markup button. Then from there, you have to still, well, first, sorry, I'm touching things. You can still, if you click the symbol button, this is where you're going to select what color you want to work on. So if I tap on that, you can see that all of those flowers in the canvas have now been selected and highlighted. So I know what I need to do in that color. Now, when you're doing your symbol, you can change how sensitive it is. So if you have a pattern that's not reading all of them, you can increase your sensitivity. If it's getting more symbols than what you're using, you can decrease your sensitivity. I usually just have it like right there. Now, if you want to actually be able to mark up your canvas, you have to press the markup button. And from here, now as you lay down your drills, you can be like, okay, let me do this. You can either tap each individual one like this, or, which I find tricky, or you basically, I usually put my finger down in the white and then I swipe up. If you're like, oh no, I didn't actually lay those down, I need to do them, then you kind of want to come in and swipe them down to deselect them. So that's how you typically do it for that part. And then if again, the key thing to remember is if I try doing this to move the canvas, it's not going anywhere. I have to pan and scroll down to be able to get to the bottom half of this. You could also just have it, if you have really good eyesight, you could have it set up like this where you could see the entire thing in one go. I personally, like I said, like to have it like this where I would roughly have like a page widthwise across and I could see all of those. And then if I have to move it up to work on the bottom portion, that's fine. So you can see when I mark these up, you can see how it just slightly grays them out. So what I've been doing lately, I come over to the settings and I'm going to scroll down. I'm not going to get into what all of this would be. But if I scroll down and keep scrolling and keep scrolling and keep scrolling to all of this right here where it says markup settings, I personally like it to be super obvious that I've completed a color. So I will use the same color for all of the markup, and the markup color kind of is defaulted to red. Now, if you don't like it to be that opaque, that like hard to see, you could change it and you could say, okay, we want to make it so it's lighter, but you still do use all the colors. But that's going to make all of them so it's not, you can't see what symbol was underneath very easily. But I personally tend to do that where I use the same color for all of them. But you can change it up. You could also click on this where if you're like, hey, I finished it. If you're not somebody who like checks it off as you go, you could click on that mark up all symbol cells and it would mark off everything in this entire pattern. And now all of it's grayed out. You can also clear, if you were like, oh no, I didn't mean to do that. You can click clear selected symbols and or you could say, okay, I didn't do that color, or I put the wrong color, or whatever, or you can clear the entire page and go back to none of it done. So those are kind of some of the settings you have over here. If you have a specific target, I don't worry about all of this stuff. But realistically, that's about the only thing that I change. If you don't like having a yellow outline, then you can change it. And that's where you would come into here on your color settings. And you can change things around. You can change what your unmarked symbol color is. You can be like, okay, I don't like the yellow. I want to make it blue. And you can change the opacity that you have for it. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. If you don't like the red for your markup color, and you can see I have it set for dark. So if I bring it up, I like the red, and actually I should probably do it like this. I like the red because it makes it obvious I've done that. So now I've changed it to that. I'm going to do the same. I like the same color for all markup because it just makes it easy for me. Now I'm going to come back over here, and if I mark this up, you can see I can still see the symbol underneath. That's kind of like the optimal way, I think, because now you can see the symbol underneath, but it's also in red, so it makes it stand out more than when it's, you know, highlighted in like that yellow. So we're going to go ahead and uncheck those. That's the basics of this. If you're doing something and you found that the color was off, whatever it may be, if you're like, okay, let me do this one, which it's not, we're going to kind of come down. So this one is the 3837. It should show you what it is right here, but you can see for some reason it didn't save the data that I already typed in. So now I need to come in and I need to, if you can see, if you just tap right here, it's going to take you back to the chart. So what you want to actually click on is, we're going to go click on this. We're going to go info. Yeah, so if you click on the info button, this is where you can say this is what it's supposed to be, and then you can you can see, okay, this is what it's supposed to be, and you can say it needs to be that one, it's not the other one. I'm going to take that and we're going to delete it, but you want it to be this right here. And now we're going to close it. Let's see if that worked. Yes, so now you can see for some reason it was recognizing two symbol colors. So now you can see it says DMC 3837. So we're going to come back over here and I'm going to do that on all of them. So this one, we're going to delete that and it should be the DMC Blanc. And then we're going to close it. Same thing right here. We're going to delete this one and we're going to select the 995 and then we're going to close it. Usually this is another way that I already went through and typed in the name of the DMCs. So I don't have to retype it, but it's still thinking that there's that white that it recognized initially, if that makes sense. I don't know if this is more confusing or if it's helpful, but when this color is split like that, you know that you need to get rid of this white and just do it like this. When it's a project that doesn't have very many colors, it's super easy to do. I will go through and do this, even though it can be annoying, because I prefer being able to work. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to tap. You can see I didn't have the right thing. It was still set on markup. So that's the one thing. If you're slated to, you have to have it where it says no select symbol. You've got no color. And now I can set this. And now I can mark up and work on this color here. If I'm in this setting and I come over there, sometimes you can accidentally hit something that you didn't mean to hit. So that part is good. We're going to pan and zoom. You can see, you can go back to that same color. But now you can see how the DMC is selected up at the top for the color I'm on. We can go with the Blanc, and it even recognizes the Blanc underneath the back stitching, which is awesome. And then you can mark up that. So that's the basics of how you would do it. And then you can close out of it, and it'll tell you the progress that you've made, and all of that information. Now we're going to see if just using a black and white pattern, the one that's made for Pattern Keeper, how that will upload, because that's a little bit more work. So we're going to go back to our PDF. We're going to click on this free pattern for Pattern Keeper, which is not the pattern that I typically use, but you can see how it's a lot simplified. We have our pattern here, which is what we want. The chart is selected, and now we have our code right there. Now we're going to click next. And this will tell you the orientation, because now the chart is on 2 pages. So you have to decide what's the orientation for it. And this is 1 over and 2 down. So it automatically recognized it. It's a little bit tricky if you have like 4 pages, then you have to say, because sometimes 4 would be easy. But say you have 6 pages. Are they 3 across, 3 and 2 down, or is it 2 across and 3 down? What's the orientation? Is it like this or is it like that? And that's what you just look at your pattern and you'd be able to tell. So this right here is the 1 across, 2 down, and you can change this. If it's like, no, it's actually supposed to be 2 across and 1 down, then it will change how the pattern is located. But we want it to be like this. So now we're going to click next. And then this is, because you have multiple pages, sometimes on multiple pages when you're looking at the pattern, it's going to have, like, say there was a row right here that was grayed out. And that's basically in case the pattern overlaps. And that shows you, okay, this is where this page leaves off and this page begins. Well, in this case, this one doesn't have any of that grayed out area on the chart. It's just solid straight across. So there's no overlap. If I were to see a shaded, like say this right here was shaded, well, that means that there would be one layer of overlap. And that's because the system will then recognize how you need to do it. And again, that was the second page. Now we're on the first page. Is there any overlap on the bottom of the first page? No, there isn't. So you can make sure it says 0, and then you go to next. And now it's going to have you select the key page. This is back to what we did before. So you can see how there are a few more steps now because it's a multi-page pattern. Now we want the key, which is already selected. And then you'd say, okay, the picture page. And this is where you'd have this one right here. And that's the one you'd want for the picture. And then you'd collect, and now see how this one recognized everything easily. It's already got all of our DMCs right there, so less work. So if the pattern is set for Pattern Keeper, it's a lot easier to upload. I personally will go through the extra work to do the other pattern because I prefer the colored symbols. Because now it's got all of the DMCs done, and you could always verify it against your list, 3837, 995, 3844, 3845, 550, Blanc, 3846. And then you click Done. So now we're gonna look at how this looks different. We're gonna click on it. It's gonna load, and you can see your pattern is right there. But right here, you have 2 pages. So your first page only stops there because the second page has those last 5 drills. Just 5 drills. So now I'm gonna come back over here, and this is a part that I don't like black and white patterns personally. It gives me a headache working on things that are black and white, which is why I go through the additional work to do it the other way. Some patterns, it recognizes everything right off the bat. Other patterns, like this one, when we did it previously, I had to actually select the DMC numbers for it. And that doesn't bother me because I'd rather do that and have a colored pattern than to be stuck with the black and white pattern. But now you say, okay, I'm going to select the symbol that I want. You can select right here. And you can see how now we have automatically selected all of that color, and it makes it so you know, and you can fill that in. I personally prefer color on there. It still highlights it in a color, and you can change what color the highlighting is. And then you can fill in your symbols. So that's the basics for how to use markup. You'd fill in the color, you'd click markup, you'd say, okay, these ones are done, these ones. In this one, basically, once you fill in a color, and now we're going to change our symbol. You always have to tap symbol and then click there, markup, in order to actually mark up. So you can see once you start filling it in, it gives it the color of that DMC. We're going to go to our coffee mug. So you can see how that color is changing every time I do something. And that's because it's saying, hey, this is what it's going to look like as you add to your pattern, which I would prefer it to be colorful first. But again, that's all self-preference. I'm going to take and I'm going to scroll all the way back down here, and I'm going to clear all markup on this because I haven't actually done anything on it. And you can always, if you want to get to so that's how you would do it. So let me know if you have any questions on that process. Sushi, she's chewing on the thingy that adjusts the blinds for my window. I look over and there's her jaws on the bottom of it. She's silly. So that is how you upload and get started marking up your pattern. So now the next thing that I want to do is to talk a little bit about how to actually get started with your cross stitch conversion, because that's the other portion of it. So I'm going to clear this off of my desk because I do have a cross stitch conversion underneath here. It's my Witchy Stitcher Nostalgic Tarot one. I have that one underneath here. And that's the one that I'm going to show kind of a little bit of the process for. We're not going to look at the pattern for it. We're going to be looking at the actual canvas because I don't have this kitted up and I don't feel like pulling out like a little, which I guess I could, but I don't feel like pulling out all the drills and the whole 9 yards to do this little pattern, which is a really small pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and move all this stuff and show you how I kit things up and go from there. Actually, I lied. I'm going to show you something else first. So when you're doing a cross stitch conversion, if you're just doing it on you and you want to source your own drills because you have extras, which is why I have so many patterns, because I wanted to use my spare drills for the conversions, or if you have, especially little ones like the one that we've been looking at, well, what you have to do, you then would need to source your own canvas and source your own drills. I would typically, for this, I just pull spare drills out and I would use those. But then for your canvas, you have to say, okay, how much canvas size do I need? For this, it's something where I would just pull out like a 30 by 30 blank canvas that I have. I bought a bunch of blank 30 by 30 canvases from Jaded Gem Shop for all of these little projects. So I already have that. But if you don't know what size canvas you need, because the patterns are going to tell you stitch size. So we're going to come over here. So basically you want to go to this website right here, which is thread-bear.com. And this tells you everything you need to know. So, and what's awesome is it's got the size that you would need canvas wise, whether you're doing Ida or if you're going to do diamond art, which is the cool thing at the bottom. So first we need to come back over to we're going to go back over to our file, and we're going to see what is the stitch count for this. And because most patterns will tell you what the total stitch count is, which is what we can actually see right here. So finished stitch area, 26 by 41. So that's what we're going to have. We're 26 stitches over because it doesn't start in, you know, way over here on the side. It's got a couple borders. But you could say, okay, if you want to have a border on it, instead of being 26 by 41, I like to have a little breathing room. So I would say that this is 30 stitches because I want that border of like 2 all the way around. I would say 30 stitches over because the actual stitched area is only 26 when that's going from here to here. I like the border. So you can see this goes to 30 right here. So 30 stitches. And then this one goes to 43. But again, I want that. I've got 2 at the top. I want 2 at the bottom. So I would call this we're going to write it down so I don't forget, 30 by 45 stitch. So now I'm going to go back over to Threadbare, to that website, and I need and this is stitches. That's one thing you have to make sure you're looking at, stitches for that. So now I'm going to come up here. The pattern is 30 by 45, but we're going to change this to stitches because when you change it to stitches, it's going to tell you what size the actual image is and then the suggested fabric size. So this is saying, okay, this is going to be a 7.5 centimeter by 11.25 centimeter canvas. That's the size that it's going to be. And then you can say, okay, if it's going to be 7.5 by, 11. So you could, if you really wanted to, you could trim your canvas down. I like having the excess and the border around it so that way I can have more to work with. Just in case I screw something up and I got started too close to the border, well, no big deal because I have more room around the canvas. And then that gives me an space if I wanted to frame it, because I have framed little projects and given them to my family members as like Christmas presents or birthday presents. I've done that. So this tells you what size you would need to have it be exact, but it usually suggests you going a little bit larger. That's excessive. You really don't need, for something that's basically 7.5 by 11.25, you don't need a 13.5 by 17.25 centimeter canvas. That's a little excessive. So for this, I would say, okay, this is exactly what I want, but you're not going to typically be able to buy a canvas that dimension. So a lot of times you have to kind of like round up unless you're buying from like Jaded Gem Shop, who's typically who I source my canvases from, just because the canvases are such awesome quality. If you don't want to math out and know exactly what you need and do all of the drills yourself, you literally send the pattern to Jade and she will do all of the work for you and reply back and be like, okay, this is what it would be. And then and then she'll create a custom listing for you to be able to buy that. You want to give her a little bit of time. Usually it takes probably about a solid week or so for Jade to get back to you via email. And then, once you reply back, it may take, a few more days, something to that effect afterwards in order to get that custom listing up. But then she'll email you once the custom listing is up. Now, if you're doing the Flossy Fox Shop stitch along, that's something that is a lot easier to do because that's something that there's enough of us that wanted to do it that we just had Jade make. She had the pattern and we just had her just do a listing so we could all buy it and not have to like individually message her and email her. And if you wanted to work on it along, it's never too late for a stitch along to get started because to do this section doesn't take that long. And that's something that doing that section on diamond painting, I usually sit down and I finish a stitch along section in like one night of diamond painting, maybe 2 if I'm being really slow. But that's me and how fast I work. So it's something that even if you don't start when everybody else is starting with the actual cross stitch side of it, for a stitch along, you're still going to catch up in no time to what they're doing. And expect to be slower when you start because it's a new process. But that's how you would know to size your canvas. This also works if you're doing regular cross stitch. This is how you know what size Ida or however you pronounce that to work with, and it can tell you how big it is. So if you're using like 14 count is a good easy one, you can see it's going to be like a 2" by 3" little piece, but it recommends you have a larger piece of fabric so that way you have the border around it and you start from the center. I personally hate starting from the center of something because my brain doesn't work that way. So I did make on this one, I did kind of like find the center on here, and then I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself, I was like, how many stitches across is the pattern? And you can see it's white that I used. You can see it goes from there to there. I'm like, okay, that's how wide the pattern is. I'm going to give myself a little border over here. And then I started, okay, that's my 0. So we ignore this whole little bit. That was my 0. And then from there, you know, I did my pattern. And I started from here and have been working. But that's because I personally do not like doing the start from the middle, and it's a personal choice. Less chance of error if you start in the middle if you're doing an actual cross stitch, but that's not how my brain works. So anyways, we're gonna actually move all this stuff and look at the canvas underneath, and I'll show you the next step of everything. All right, so this right here is my current cross stitch conversion work in progress that I'm doing. You're not gonna be able to see the entire width of this because this canvas is literally like 4.5 feet by like 5 feet long. So I have a desk that's big enough that it stretches across the entire width of the desk. And it's just, this portion is laying on top of the desk, and then I have it roll under the edge, and I have those little like table clamps for diamond paintings where the empty canvas is rolled up in those clamps at the bottom. And once I finish working all the way across on the border, I will shift it up and have it where it could potentially hang off the back side of my off of my desk while I work on the next page. So this is like one page here, the second page went to here, and now I'm working on the third page, which goes a little bit further that way, which you can't quite see. But basically, I do actually do my cross stitch conversions flat. All my other diamond paintings, I work on an incline, on an easel. But this one I do work on flat. And you can see I still have the release paper here and here. And then, you know, this is something that I had to do here. So we're gonna look at the drills, and I'll show you how I kit the drills up. So this right here are the drills that I have for the border and like the first 6 tarot cards. I hate working with the little like heat sealed baggies. So I actually took all of the heat sealed bags, which included, you know, all of this 310, and that's not even all of the 310 I'm going to need for this kit. I took all of the 310 and I poured it into Ziploc baggies because I just can't with, like I said, I just can't with heat sealed baggies. So, and, you know, I do have a little thing of 310, which I could just work from here, but I'm usually doing a massive section of color blocking. So I'll usually just pour my drills from here straight into the tray. And this is the tray that I typically use for this. But as we look, I'm going to move that 310 out of the way. I kit up in DMC order. So as we come back down, you can see, this is why I love this so much, the color palette. The color palette is amazing and marvelous. So the way, like, you can individually label these yourself, or since I bought the canvas and the drills for this from Jaded Gem Shop, it came with a sticker sheet, but the sticker sheet only showed the basically the number here, like the 3326, and it was specific to like that pattern. And there's multiples of it on here because there were like multiple of that color, because there were like 6 patterns or 7 patterns that Jade combined. So they all have a different drill count. So if I really wanted to, that's how many drills I have from that particular pattern, but there's multiple patterns in here. Some colors, like this color, is only used in 1 pattern, or well, 2 patterns actually. I don't know if I have any that are just used in 1 pattern because the colors do carry over. Yes, this one. So the 991 is only used in 1 pattern. So there's only 164 of that one. But some of these are used in every pattern. So I'm going to have hundreds of and thousands of that color. But anyways, I kit up in DMC order. It just makes it easier to find them when you're like this, because it doesn't come with the symbols on it when you get the cross stitch pattern. It does give you like the drill count and the DMC number, but that's it. So what I then do is, you know, my markup shows me the DMC number when I click on the symbol, and then I'll grab that color. So I'll be like, okay, we're working with 166. And then what I do to make my life easier, because I work off of symbols, not numbers. If you're somebody that works off of DMC number, that's going to be easy. It's not going to be a change for you. You find the symbol, you grab the DMC color, and then you start placing. I find things based off of, I look for the symbol typically. So on this, I actually, when I've used a color for it, I mark the symbol that I'm working on. So I know this is the symbol I'm doing. Now there's some colors I haven't used yet, so they don't have any symbols on them. I have not used a 666. There's no symbol on that one yet. Other ones I have used, like you can see here, the 740 is the symbol 6. That's how I do it, because that's what makes sense and is logical for my brain. And that gives me a chance to say, okay, here we go, to do it. I usually have my drills set just off to the side. I'll have some cover minders to pull the plastic out of the way and hold it back, so that way I can get to the canvas. I need to fill in my black right here so I can trim my plastic around it and remove like this center piece of plastic, because I need to start filling in the 310 all the way around here. Oh, that's a spot that didn't get plastic covering it. So that's something that I would need to do, because that's exposed. So anyways, that's the basic of how I start. I'm the person that does, typically will do all of one color if I'm on a smaller project. This one, I kind of started with the R because it was easy to go from here to the R. And then I did the O, then I did the T, and then I started coming down into, like I did the white right there. And then I kind of came into this bottom part and worked here and across, and then kind of went to line up for this section here. So I didn't have to count. I kind of went off of, okay, this is where I was with this color here. This is where I need to be for that color over here. So it would stay symmetrical. But there is a fair amount of counting that, you just stole my chair emoji. There is a fair amount of counting that you have to do when you're doing a cross stitch conversion, because you'd be like, okay, how many spaces do I need between the A and the R? Right here, 2. Up here, you've got, it's a little piece of cat toe stuff. You can see this one, technically, including that black drill that I already placed, there's 4 drills in between. So you want 4 spaces, or you come from here and count over. How many spaces do I want underneath the R to the white? Then you kind of count, where do you want the white to end? How close to here? You have to count those spaces. But that's the basics of how I get started. I make sure everything's kit up in DMC order. I personally use the Elizabeth Ward containers because it just makes me, where I can see everything, boom, just like that. My last Flossy Fox Shop stitch along that I did, I was able to fit all of the colors in one of the mini Elizabeth Ward containers that's only this big. And that was great, because it's like, then if you're not, because the stitch alongs are something that you're working on for months. So then I can close the lid on this and set it off to the side, and I don't have to worry about misplacing things, because it's like, okay, lid moved. Typically when it's a smaller canvas than this one, I hang the canvas on the back of the door. So that way in the in-between times, I've got the canvas kind of out of the way when I'm not working on it, and I'm done until the next section of the pattern comes out the following month. So if you guys have any specific questions on how to get started with a cross stitch conversion, let me know. I will, at some point, I will do like that little one that I showed you guys. I will work that, like kit that one up and show you how I would actually get started, so you can see, okay, here's the iPad with the symbols that I mark up, and this is how I go, and you guys can see that my process to actually start. I'll do that, but not right now, because I have other things I want to do. But I will show you that part of it soon. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed kind of getting this little glimpse into how I use markup and then how I do my cross stitch conversions. Feel free to ask any questions that you have for me. I am not by any means an expert in markup. I've used it. I know, like, I like to joke on things like this, that I know just enough to be dangerous, but not enough to be like a master or a pro at it. So if I don't know how to do something, or it's not cooperating with me, I legit go to YouTube and I find a video and I watch like the set videos. What's really cool is Markup actually has a series of how-to videos on YouTube. So if you don't know how to do something, you can watch their tutorials that go like super in-depth on things. They'll show you how to like change all sorts of stuff. If you have any kind of issue, you can typically find the answer with the Markup tutorials. But that's all I have for you guys for today. I hope you enjoyed seeing today's video and getting a glimpse into my process, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.